Birds Fly Talk fans, Philadelphia Eagles fans, the greater Philadelphia area, New Jersey, and everything else in between. What the heck is going on? Football season is back. We are less than, a few hours away from the first game. We got the Patriots and Chiefs coming up, and let me tell you something. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go. I'm going to set up, watch this game, Thursday Night Football. I've been itching for football. The offseason's way too long for me. I have to figure out things to try to occupy myself. I tried picking up playing basketball again. Some of you guys know me personally. I played tennis in college. I actually tried, I kind of laid it down after I graduated, but picked up playing that recreationally again, just for fun. What else did I try to do? A whole bunch of things, like some graphic designing. I started Birds Fly Talk, all this stuff to pretty much preoccupy myself because I needed football. My flag football team, we won our championship. Anything I could do to get my mind off football, that's what I was trying to do. But in the end, nothing can fill that void. Nothing can take the place of football, and it's back. Thursday Night Football. I'm so pumped to watch this game. I'm giddy. I'm like a kid on. I don't even know if I'll be able to focus at work, because all I can think about is just football being back. We're starting off with the Patriots and Chiefs. Is going to be an excellent matchup, and then we have our beloved Birds. They're going to travel down to the Washington area, not Washington D.C. specifically, but the Washington area to play the Washington Redskins. Got a great matchup, and look, I've been away for a little bit of a while. Really busy, but Birds Fly Talk is full steam ahead. You know what I'm saying? Choo choo, all that stuff. We are just locked and loaded. We're ready to go. So I've got a very special guest who's gonna join in, and we've actually got something special here. We're gonna do some video to video, intercom interface, whatever it's called. You tech junkies know what the hell I'm talking about. We're gonna talk some football pretty much. We got my guy Sean from Philly Eagles News. That's on Instagram. Huge following base, excellent content. One of the guys who we looked up to when we were getting started here at Birds Fly Talk. We've got him in on the call. He's gonna jump in with us. We're gonna talk about the outlook for the season, a little bit on the Redskins matchup coming up, and just overall how he feels about the Eagles. We'll get I'm sure he'll give us a record prediction or something like that, and we're just going to, do what we do, Big Bird style, you know what I'm saying, Birds Fly Talk style, Big Eagles Green style. So look, you guys know about me, you know who I am, it's Kevin Taylor. The rest of the crew is not here right now, but trust me, they will be back. And this segment, all this video stuff and all that, it's going on, it's every week. We're going to be kicking this up a notch, but without further ado, let me jump right into it. Let's get Sean on. Sean, how is it going, man?
It's been good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so happy to have you on the show, man. So look, you know how we do it here, man. We jump right into it. We're talking, Eagles football, and we give it to them straight, right? So I just want to get your outlook for the season. When somebody asks you, yo, Sean, how do you feel about the season, man? How do you feel? How do you feel about the Birds right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel confident in the direction that we're going. I felt like we had a strong offseason, especially in free agency. Acquiring Alshon Jeffrey was huge. I didn't think we'd make that big of a splash. When we signed Torrey Smith, I was okay, that's an upgrade. But then later that day, we just made a huge splash and landed Alshon, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about Alshon, what do you see him being for Wentz? Do you see Alshon being a volume receiver? Do you see his presence on the field making Wentz's life easier? What do you see that relationship forging into over the season?
I see it making Wentz his job a lot easier. Last year we really didn't have much to work with. Jordan Matthews was okay, but then now that we have Jeffrey, that's our true number one wide receiver, and will kind of act as a security blanket for Wentz. It'll take some pressure off of him, knowing that he is a receiver that good. And he's tall and aggressive, so I expect a lot of jump balls, fades on the goal line, stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I think about Alshon, it takes me back to, I think it was week 2 in Chicago. The little stutter step, double move. You guys can see it right now. You see the play. Look at how he gets past Mills, he breaks off and finishes. And you see that underthrown ball. If that, Wentz puts that on the money, that's cash every day. Speaking of which, you mentioned Jordan Matthews, right? And so even though Jordan Matthews wasn't as, he was no Odell Beckham, he was actually a record breaker in the slot.
Hmm.
Like how do we replace that production? Because it's gone, it's not there. Because Aguilar's in the slot now. How do we replace that?
It's tough, like losing a guy like Jordan Matthews. Like it was like sad just like seeing him go, but I was really excited. Like I'm an Aguilar fan and supporter. Like after last year, I remember I saw an interview after the Seattle game. He just looked so lost, and it looks like he works really hard. And in OTAs and training camp, he's looked really good. I didn't really get to see much of him in preseason. I don't think he got a lot of targets, but I expect like a lot better year for him. He seems confident, and I think he could replace Jordan Matthews in the slot pretty well this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to touch on Jordan Matthews, I mean, if you guys who are, loyal followers of the show, you guys probably saw my last video when I was on vacation, and I had to put something together for Matthews. I mean, I felt terrible seeing him, but it's a business, got to move on, and we got to get that production from somewhere. I too am a Aguilar supporter. Me and my guy Mike on the show, we always argued about like DGB versus Aguilar, and I told him, I was like, look, like Aguilar's going to be on this team, and he needs to get his production on pretty much. He's got to put up or shut up. And you see how he's making moves all the time. So that to me is a piece where, like, if Nelson Aguilar takes that next step and is confident the way he is in USC, this team could really be a lot different than it has in years past.
Hmm.
So with that being said, we kind of talked about Aguilar. We talked about outlook for the season. How do you feel about Wentz? Like, where do you see him with that next step?
I think he's going to take like a pretty big step this year. I don't see him making like a giant leap like everyone's kind of predicting. I see him making like a big step in his progression though. I think he'll have a lot less turnovers this year because he has Lane Johnson back. Like that was a huge piece that we were missing last year. He has wide receivers. I like our running back situation, like the rotation that we have going. I think that also takes some pressure off of him. But I think he's going to throw say maybe 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, something around there. I think, and close to 4,000 yards.
Hey,
that's what
that sounds like a pretty that seems like a fair stat line to me. When I look at Wentz, one, I want to see him protect the ball better. I see you actually got a Madden on the screen behind you there. Have you noticed in Madden how much Wentz fumbles? Like, he fumbles a lot. And then they make the stat, and Madden they do tricky things like that. Like, if you lead the league in fumbling, but it's like a sneak. Like, when you think of Wentz, you don't think of someone who fumbles a lot, but he was actually tied for the most fumbles with, I think, Carson Palmer. But you don't think of that. But in the game, he fumbles everything. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, an online play, he fumbles so much. But first of all, I want to see him protect the ball. And I just want to see him get the ball out quicker, less mistakes, just like you said. And I want to see the same confidence, obviously. I want to see more leadership, and I want to see guys playing for him. So I think he can do that. I think the stat line you mentioned is very fair, but we will see. I mean, he's got weapons. After this year, we definitely will not be able to say, well, he didn't have anyone around him. Like, we're going to find out what Wentz is made of. And with my outlook for the season, if it goes up or down, I think he has weapons. And this is going to sound so hypocritical, but now I wonder, does he have playmakers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does he have playmakers? And is he a quarterback that can make a playmaker? Like, Tom Brady makes playmakers, if that makes sense. Everyone in the NFL is a weapon, and to me, I feel like it's kind of up to the coach to figure out how to use that weapon, and then, and for you yourself as a weapon to, manifest yourself and try to be in the best position. And then it's up to the quarterback to allow you to make plays, put you in positions, if that makes sense, So that's what I think. I mean, I think if this team struggles, it's going to be because we have a lot of people, but enough people didn't make plays, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. What do you think?
I have a thing to add with Carson Wentz. I also noticed, like, in watching videos from like training camp and preseason, his throwing release looks a lot smoother than last year.
Right.
Like a lot quicker, and I think that'll also help reduce the turnovers.
Right. I know that, like, last year, I mean, funny story for you guys. We actually, we were both at the, what was it, the second training camp?
Yeah, the open training
Yeah,
camp.
the open training camp. And so, like, Sean is down here with a sign on the field. And I'm, like, in the first row of the stands. We both got signs. But I did notice that Carson Wentz, I mean, it's like almost like, before where it was, like, coming down around here and then through. And now it's kind of like, boom, like, more.
Yeah, let's quicker.
Yeah, a lot more fluid, and that's very important that he gets that ball out fast,
Mm-hmm.
I always have, well, I've said this since he's come in, to Philly, is I know Aaron Rodgers is a fan of, Carson. He thinks highly of Carson. I'm like, dude, you need to get with Aaron Rodgers over the, and figure out his release, because I don't know anybody who gets the ball out, quicker than Aaron. But, all good. Carson Wentz has got to take the step forward. We all know that. There's no excuses to hide behind. I know those Dallas Cowboy fans are going to like to hear that. No excuses. No more excuses for us to hide behind. He's got to get the ball out. He's got to ball out. He's got to, make things happen here in Philly, because he's good enough to do it. So here on moving out along, who do you see as like a breakout candidate for this season on the team?
Breakout. I'll do one for offense and defense.
Yep.
My offensive breakout candidate is probably Wendell Smallwood.
Okay.
I think he's going to take like the big leap this year. I think he'll lead our team in carries, like over LeGarrette Blount. He'll be like the lead back on like first and second down. I think Blount's like a type of guy who would get like 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, like line situations. But I think Smallwood's going to take a huge leap this year.
I agree. I really think Smallwood is going to come forward. I think that LeGarrette Blount will. I think LeGarrette Blount will. He'll show that he's kind of one-dimensional, just like in New England, and that's fine. Like, they were running 3. They had James White, Deion Lewis, and him touching the rock, and they all got plenty of touches. So I'm not too worried about that. What about your defensive guy?
My defensive guy would have to be Jalen Mills. Jim Schwartz has been praising him all offseason, and I noticed like the first thing in preseason, like he looks good. Like he's always right there, making the play on the corners. I just worry about his height. I know he's like 5'11" or 6 feet tall, and we have to go up against Terrell Pryor week 1, and he's 6'5". So that kind of worries me. But besides that, I think Mills is going to have a great season this year.
Right. I agree. You kind of have to wonder, but like with Jalen Mills, the thing is that, he's too good to take off the field, like in terms of how well he competes. So like, and I did a post on Birds Fly Talk, and it was like an ideal situation if I could have everything my way, and I had to say like, look, like, it would have to be probably like Mills in the slot,
Yeah,
but you
that's what I'm
can't,
thinking.
you can't take him off the field once Sidney Jones comes back, because he's too good. But anyway, I like the breakout candidates. I think we keep an eye out on Zach Ertz because, we'll see, we'll see what he's made of. This is his year, This is his year. If he, we'll see what he's made of. And on the defensive line, I need to see Fletcher Cox actually be like, that guy, like Gerald McCoy-esque, take over games, like be a force, like Ndamukong Suh, like 3 years ago-esque, like that guy, that kind of interior lineman. So here's a fun thing that we're going to keep doing on the show, and it's called the Fly Talk Meter, right? So if you guys have ever been like, when you were kids, you go to like the pediatrician if you were sick, and you notice like there's a scale in there, and it's got like these faces on it, and the doctor says like, how are you feeling? Like point to how you're feeling. It's like 1, blah, blah. So every time we do one of these season outlooks, I'm going to pretty much, check in with you guys and let you know my outlook on the season. So it goes like this, right? The lowest point on the scale is pretty much throwing in the season for a specific player, right? So like tanking. That specific player to me is Saquon Barkley, right? I don't think there's any way we get them without tanking the season. So that's the lowest one. The next one is let's not be last, right? So this is the season's pretty much we're not making the playoffs. We know it. We've won a few games, so tanking is really going to be difficult, and we've got too much pride. It's kind of like last year. Let's not be last, so to speak. At some point, winning that last game against Dallas, so on and so forth. And then after that, I have wild card, into the playoffs. Well, not wild card, excuse me. Sneaking into the playoffs, right? So sneaking into the playoffs. Let's sneak into the playoffs. So any way possible, get into the playoffs. If the division sucks like it did a few years ago, it could be 9-7 or something like that to get into the playoffs, or anything like getting a wild card because the whole NFC sucks. I don't know. That's probably not going to happen. After that, I'm writing playoff run because if we make it to the playoffs, I expect to win a game in the playoffs, right? So that could be how the Giants were 11-6 making the playoffs, or not, 11-5 making the playoffs, and they could have gone on a run there. No one would have put that past them. And then after that, it's Super Bowl, run. And in that playoff run, you could win the NFC East and go on a playoff run. And then Super Bowl run. So right now I'm going to ask you, I'll give you mine. So right now I'm sneaking into the playoffs. I don't quite see this team winning the NFC East, but I do see them a couple things moving in their favor, and I see them possibly getting a wild card into the playoffs. How about you?
Yeah, I see us sneaking into the playoffs. Maybe as a wild card. I mean, the NFC East is going to be brutal this year. I think all 4 teams could be a playoff team. So it's going to be a dogfight. We have to do a lot better in the division than we did last year because we beat the Giants and then we beat the Cowboys backup. So I think week 1 we just got to go out there. We got to just beat Washington, get that over with, be 1-0, set the tone, and then I think we can sneak into the playoffs at 9-7, possibly 10-6.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, with that, what's your season prediction? Record-wise?
I think it's either going to be 9-7 or 10-6 is our ceiling. Is 10-6.
Yep.
I just our schedule. I looked at it. Our first half of the season before the bye, it doesn't look that bad. The first 3 games are tough. At Washington, at Kansas City, then home versus the Giants. But after that, it doesn't look that bad. And then we get off the bye. We play Dallas on the road. I think that's a huge game, and I think we're going to win there this year. I think that's something we should have won last year. I think we could have beat them by 20, but you know how that went.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually sitting at a 9-7, and I think our floor. I think 9-7 is the mean. I think this team has so many new pieces where if they get off to a slow start, it may be too quick to recover. I could easily see them going 7-9 because they can't get their stuff together. We're trying to change too many things. We can't figure out a running back. Our interior line, which scares the hell out of me, is not up to par. If everything goes bad, I think 7-9 is a floor. I don't see that. I think this team has too much talent to not win 7 games. If we won 6 games, I would be flabbergasted. I would be appalled. And I think 10-6, is definitely doable. They would have to, play their minds out. But I actually think that the NFC will be so competitive that 9-7 actually might get you a wild card. It might be good enough. We'll see. 10-6 probably is what it's going to take. But you never know. But I am definitely open to them exceeding expectations because I want to do well, just like you. I want to I want to see my birds fly high. So, look, you heard our season predictions, right? You got our outlook. We're definitely excited for this football coming up. So just we're not going to touch too much on the Redskins because I got a video with at Redskins Today coming up. So you'll see behind enemy lines, that sort of thing. But I do want to hear your score prediction.
I think we win 28-20.
28-20. That's a solid, one possession right there. I'm not going to give away my season prediction. You can check out mine in the next video. But look, that is a solid game right there. We're going to go down there. We're going to take care of business just like we are expecting to. We're going to get it done in Washington. What is it? We lost them like 5 straight times?
Yeah, I think it's just due to end at this point. I
Yeah.
feel like we're going to go out there. We're going to be mad.
Yeah. Hey, that's what needs to happen. I'm definitely tired of losing to the Redskins. And every time it feels like we have to end it and it doesn't happen. But now I feel like we're prepared. It's got to happen. The streak's got to end. It's the Washington Redskins. Like, no disrespect, but we're not losing to them. All right, so look, Sean, my man, we really appreciate you being on the show here, the insight, the knowledge, all that stuff. This will not be the last time you're seeing him. Promise you that, followers. Please give him a follow if you don't already follow him. That's at Philly Eagles News on Instagram. Huge following, just like I said, excellent content. The dude is like always on posting stuff. I don't think he ever sleeps. And, it's just an excellent page to follow. If you don't follow us, like, what the hell is the matter with you? It's Birds Fly Talk on Twitter, Instagram, and, check us out on YouTube, which you are watching right now, so I don't need to tell you that. Just hit that subscribe button below, share it, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, and tell your grandmom, too. Grandpop, too. So, hey, this was Birds Fly Talk. Kevin Taylor. Sean, thanks again for locking in with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, absolutely. And this was Birds Fly Talk. Peace. We out.
Sit down. Be humble. 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 Sit down. Be humble.